I had heard that the production was prepping and they had started designing the action, but I wasn't necessarily hearing anything for myself. So it was one of those cases where I had to get over my fears of asking for what I wanted and my fears of coming across as being ungrateful or entitled and all of these labels that um, I might assign to myself that no one else is seeing in that case. So I actually did text Zach, the director, and ask if I could audition for Army. And of course, he responded and he was happy to have me audition. And so all of the fears melted away. But it was a kind of a big step for me personally in getting over some of those fears and worries about what other people think and just being confident in who I am and how I feel, and that if the people around me see me and care about me, they feel that there should be no worry to come across as ungrateful or any of those bad words.
So you had callbacks, I'm assuming, right? Or was it just a quick audition and in?
Well, because I was so grateful to even be able to audition for such a large role in a project, because it was a pretty big step up for me when it comes to size of roles in this size of project. I really went all out on my audition tape. It wasn't the standard plain background. I kind of went out and shot a small short film almost as the audition.
Awesome.
So I went bigger because I knew that Zach would probably see it personally. I thought I want him to know how seriously I take this and what I feel the audition deserves in terms of my efforts. So I really just didn't want to leave any page unturned when it came to making my intentions known. So there were no callbacks or anything. John Papsidera, the casting director, ended up sending my tape right to Zach, and a few weeks later, they told me the good news.
Cast was very fun, close-knit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. And I think it was a lovely surprise in that regard as well, because so many of us came from different countries. We have different cultural backgrounds, different accents. We really were such a diverse group of people that I think there was a question mark in how will we all fit. But all of those differences ended up being the very thing that united us, because there was no one person struggling when it came to a joke being told and not quite getting it,
Right.
or struggles with dialect in our work, or not understanding references to pop culture. It was something that each person struggled with in a small way on their own. And so it was something that we could openly admit, and everyone was like, oh yeah, I didn't understand this or that. Or it was just a lovely supportive group that was united in our differences, which I think is kind of symbolic of where the world is moving as a whole. So it was a really hopeful, wonderful feeling on set.
Is it like to represent Canadian Chinese women? That's amazing. That's a big step.
100%. I feel honored to be able to. I think as a person of color and a minority, of course, this is a huge opportunity. But if being Canadian, I do feel like sometimes Canadians skate by and no one really knows that we're Canadian, because we share the same accent most of the time and very similar culture. We have the same celebrities and icons. We're kind of in the same world as the US. So making it publicly known that I'm Canadian is something that I'm proud of, because people don't necessarily think that at first glance. I live in Los Angeles. I'm in the film industry, so I could very easily just be American. But I think if you love your country, it's a good feeling to be able to represent it. And especially coming from a small town, getting old friends and other people from my town reaching out to say that they've seen the movie is such a warm feeling in my heart. Yeah, it is a special feeling. I guess I'll add to that.
Yeah, for sure.
I was so happy that Army of the Dead was coming out during Asian American Heritage Month as well, because there was so much spotlight on Asians in the industry. Well, not necessarily just in the industry, but in my circles. It was really cool to be a part of this film that came out in the month where everyone's thinking about it, having a Greek Filipino lead,
Right.
Hiroyuki Sanada, Japanese, and
Yep.
Chinese Canadian, that's three people in the main cast with Asian heritage. And so I feel like it's so rare that I felt extremely proud of not just the cast and the film as a whole, but of the casting director and Zach and Debbie and, you know, the people that make the decisions and made it possible for something like this. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ollie.
Do you have a backstory for her and Goose? There was definitely something there. I was digging them.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, actually, the very first day that we were on camera, in the hair and makeup trailer, I was really grateful that Raul came over and we were like, and he wanted to talk about backstories and potentially where our characters came up in the world, what the history there is. And we both, it's not written in the script, but we both agreed that there was a really strong familial kind of bond there, because it does seem like it's stronger than the average friendship. It's
Right.
stronger than, you know, if they were just a couple or something. We think that they probably have known each other since young children,
Yep.
and because of hard circumstances in their lives, really had to lean on each other as family. And I think one of the reasons that that felt so right for Chambers was because in the scene outside of the liquor store, when Guzman's character is being introduced, I know that I'm not actually Latina. Everyone was riffing in Spanish, and everyone else there was of Spanish or Mexican heritage.
Right. Right.
And they were speaking it, but me being Chinese Canadian, I felt that I couldn't necessarily participate. And if that's the circumstance I'm in, and I'm representing also, I assumed a character of Chinese heritage, because I wasn't playing
Right.
Tina necessarily.
Right.
I thought, how lonely of a life would Chambers really have that her family doesn't even necessarily speak the same language?
Right.
But these are the people that she feels closest to and the strongest bond to. So I think that friendship was born out of a necessity, and their family. There's just kind of no question about it, and that's why they're moving through together, and that's why Chambers doesn't even have a rate that's negotiated. I really firmly believe that she was there because if Guzman's going to go, she wants to make sure that somebody has his back.
Right. Right. That's what I felt too. I felt there was no greed in that situation. And she put her hands on his shoulder and she's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Little things.
Yeah. It's like the comfort, the like brother sister kind of gesture.
Do you see them as brother and sister rather than a couple, or?
I personally, when we were coming up with it, because it seemed like a stronger kind of bond, when
Right.
like family, I think is a stronger feeling as an actor. But
Right.
you know, that's just the preparation that the actors do. So I appreciate anything the fans like to see in that.
Yeah.
Anytime a person can get emotionally involved in characters, I think it's a great thing.
You started out as a stunt person, so this must have been a ball for you. It looked really fun.
Yeah, especially given the fact that Damon Caro, the second unit director, was the stunt coordinator on Sucker Punch. And so
Right.
he was who I was working for and who I was learning from and who I consider my mentor from age 17.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was really neat to be able to work with Damon on this production, and the fight choreographers, Wayne Daglish, I also worked with since Sucker Punch, and Matt Righetti, also since Sucker Punch. So these working relationships have been forged over a decade, and our understanding of each other and each other's timing and movement is so clear at this point that I think it was a really fun world for us to explore, because they knew exactly what my wheelhouse of strengths were and how to play to that. And we just were able to work together as a well-oiled machine in a way that I think wouldn't have been possible without all of those years of working together prior. We accomplished a lot more than I think we would have been able to if we hadn't had all of that experience.
Right. I mean, girl, you jumped out a window.
And they let me do it.
Oh my God, that wasn't real glass, obviously, right? That was like plexi or something for stunts, or was
It was it's like a melted sugar. So
right.
it does break into smaller pieces. And if you step on it, it turns to powder. So it's much safer.
That's
Hence
good.
why they let me do it. Because I've jumped through tempered glass and other glass where you do get cut as a stunt woman prior. But as an actress, that's not a good idea now. So.
What was it like to die? Tig said she had wished she survived and even begged Zach. I would have liked you to survive. I liked your character a lot. She was one of my favorites next to Anna's character, Cruz.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and that's a good choice. Anna's a lovely person, so I love it. But I I guess I didn't miss surviving, especially knowing the script ahead of time.
Right.
And spoiler alert, almost everyone dies anyways. It was more about how you go out in my mind for this kind of film. And I felt so grateful that I got to go out the way I did. I really did feel a sense of honor. I felt like because there was such a strong friendship with Guzman, people would feel an actual loss because of the character to mourn them. And the kind of badass way I get to fight to the very death. I was really happy with my death. It never occurred to me to ask to survive for it. But also I've died on screen so many times in other projects.
Right.
It wasn't a scary foreign concept for me. I do know that there can be more if that's what they wish, because the world is our oyster when it comes to storytelling. Almost anything is possible. And we see that over and over in other franchises. It's not too big of a concern.
That is true. I know there was like a time loop theory. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until, because I'm sure that Zach keeps the grand scheme plans more private with the writer. So it's something that I'm not really in the loop with. So to hear about that on Twitter, I'm like, oh, maybe.
Is it safe to say she was a fan of Aliens? The bandana was definitely a throwback to Vasquez. Come on, girl.
Most definitely. In my mind, Chambers probably has a poster of Aliens on her wall, and she's like, this is the woman I want to be. So, yes, 100%.
So she was definitely a 90s girl. You had like the baby girl necklace, the bubble watch, even the little gummy bracelets that we all used to wear when we were kids.
I know, and the choker.
Yes!
Yeah. I think one of the most fun parts of the experience was that initial wardrobe fitting with Stephanie Porter, because she had like 50 outfits from the 90s, and I was having such major nostalgia. I was like, oh, can I keep this one? Where did you buy this? Where can I buy this one? Can I buy this one from you? And I just wanted to buy all of the clothes. And in the liquor store scene, you can't see my full outfit as clear, but I had these like Ugg fuzzy slipper shoes. They were like slippers, but those were my shoes. And then this purple silk getup with a visor. I'm like, oh, I haven't worn a visor in so long.
I needed the fanny pack, but I don't see Chambers wear no fanny packs.
Actually, I think I was wearing one.
Get out.
I think so.
Oh my gosh. Did you get to keep any of the clothes?
No, I didn't. I could have asked, I suppose, but I'm such a goody two shoes that I never want to inconvenience people. Right. But I went out and I bought the same watch that Chambers wears, clear G-Shock watch.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, and I went out afterwards and I bought one for myself because I'm like, this feels right.
Yeah, because you come off as a tough girl, but I really do see there's something in her, you know, like there's something more in there.
Glad that was coming across, because that was also a kind of personal journey for me at the time. Coming from a martial arts background with brothers, I don't have any sisters. It was very male men, and then having a stunt career, another male-dominated athletic career. I was just at the age of like, what was I, 28 at the time, coming into my femininity. Because of the hoops that I wore as Chambers, that was when I started personally wearing jewelry, because I didn't wear jewelry until then. And I was like, you know what, I feel like Chambers is different. Chambers was like an evolved person for me. She had style, she wore makeup, she wore hoops, choker, a crop top, but she was no less badass because of it. And that was something that I learned from the character work and then tried to bring into my own personal life now. So it's the benefits of being an actor.
Have you had any weird fan encounters? Come on, girl, you must have had some.
Yes. I guess most on Army of the Dead, because it was during a pandemic and there's still not a whole lot of in-person reactions. A lot of them are just weird messages or weird DM attempts or inappropriate gifts or inappropriate photos.
Oh, that's
So
awful.
for anyone reading, no one ever wants your inappropriate photos. It doesn't do anything but make them think you're a little bit
Crazy.
disgusting and makes me feel like you don't have enough respect for me to treat me like you would perhaps seeing me on the street. So
Right.
for anyone, that is never welcomed. Yes. But I do have to say, for every one of those, there are 20 very lovely encounters from people that are just fans of the film or fans of my past work or fans of the outfits or costumes, or just wanting to express how they felt at the moment my character died.
Oh no, people are.
And sometimes in really funny ways, like when they're like, yo, you were a straight up G, just pop, pop. I'm like, this is hilarious. Like I love reading things like that. People have such different personalities. So most of the time it is wonderful.
What's your favorite zombie movie?
Ooh. Personally, 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Because I do, well, actually it would be a tie between 28 Days Later and Zombieland. Because
Okay.
I love how 28 Days Later crafted a kind of, it was a different kind of zombie film where there was suspense, there was like a really dramatic story within.
Right.
It was so up close and personal. I was so attached to like the character and the journey and trying to figure everything out. And zombies were just kind of, well, they were terrifying in that movie.
Yeah.
I was truly terrified as the audience, and I felt like I could really live it through the main character. So I really appreciated that. And then Zombieland on the other side was one of the first where it was just pure fun,
Right.
mostly comedy. It was mostly a comedy set in a zombie backdrop. And so it was one of the first times I personally experienced it, and it was just awesome. I watched it in the theater and the energy in the room was just contagious and we all had a good time.
Would you survive a real life zombie apocalypse, and what would be your weapon of choice?
Ooh. The humble side of me would be like, oh no, I would be the first one to die. No, no, no. But I do think the truth of it is that I am a survivor and I think I would find a way. Because I would not go down very easily. I would like to think that I'd die like Chambers, at least give him a good fight, and it would take a lot of them. But weapon of choice would be, I'm gonna lean away from guns or explosives or anything like that. I just want a barbarian style. I think I would go with
the bang again.
I know. I'm scarred. I'm not carrying gas canisters. I would go with double broadswords.
Okay.
Double broadswords, because you have two, you have range from a distance, but you can still use them closer to you. You have two things to thrust to get some brains, or you can just slice heads right off. I feel like there's a lot of options with double broadswords. And it was something that I trained in my previous martial arts, wushu, which
right.
So I'm familiar with it. I feel like I could handle that. My like personal journey on it would be Snow Steam Iron, because it was the first time working with Zach as a lead, and the nature of the short film was so emotional and such an intimate story, and it was with friends and family that we were shooting it. It felt like a very special project, and I grew a lot as an artist, and I felt so emotionally connected to everyone that it made the experience very special to me. In terms of what I'm most proud of, I would probably say Wonder Woman, because of its impact on women around the world, kids around the world. It was received in a very uplifting way that I felt like it in a way helped the world a bit. And so for that reason, I'm so proud. Mortal Kombat Legacy was my first big one, and so that will always hold a special part in my heart because I feel like since then I have been able to be considered for more acting roles and larger roles, and it was I still get sweet messages from Mortal Kombat Legacy fans, so it was something that seemed to resonate with people, and it was a first for me. In terms of the experience and the friendships and the cast and the crew and everything. Sucker Punch, I learned so much on that movie. I was 17, 18. I was working with all people that were masters in what they do. And so I was just trying to soak up everything I possibly could have. And Jenna Malone is the sweetest human being. She is who I stunt doubled on it.
You did Rockets. Yep.
Correct. Yes. So Sucker Punch is very special to me, and it's where I met the Snyders. It's my first time working with Damon Caro. It was just everything wonderful. My first long run of a movie, first time working out of in a different part of the world by myself as an adult. And career-wise, Army of the Dead has been the most exciting. It's the first time I got to see myself on a billboard. And have character art and so much cosplay. I've experienced cosplay before, but there's something more special about it because I feel like in Mortal Kombat Legacy, Katana cosplay, Katana as a character is really the one people are dressing up as. And there have been so many renditions of her that I guess in a way I've detached personal responsibility for that and appreciated her myself as well. But Chambers is someone I've only gotten to play so far, so it feels unique to me, and it's something that when I see, I feel more emotional about when I see women in Chambers cosplay now. So Army of the Dead is a lot of firsts for me, and it's a very exciting time.
What's next for you?
Next for me is more of these kinds of roles in larger projects. I would really love to stay in this world for a while and get my feet under me, get more experience working with lots of different actors and different environments, and getting to experience, taking people on an emotional journey with my character. A lot of times I served a specific purpose within a script in an action scene or as a specific kind of character. But it's fun being able to craft characters through scenes throughout an entire film. So I'd love to be able to experience more of that while at the same time honing my craft in other ways. I am a fan of storytelling, and eventually I would love to be more a part of the behind the scenes storytelling. So whichever capacity that looks like, whether it's writing or producing,
directing,
in this, perhaps we'll see. But I want to pay more attention to that while I'm taking on more of these roles. I want to be studying as much as I can the people around me and seeing in which other ways I might fit into a crew or a production and see what else is fun. I love the industry and storytelling and being creative, and so I just want to experience as much as I can.